What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of UNRESTOLOGY. This is the show where I talk as long as I want about anything I want. Now, one thing I ask a lot of people to do a lot is make their own YouTube channel about Japan. They don't have to live in Japan. But when I ask people to do this, I try to give them as many tools as I can. I suggest ideas, I suggest how to get started. But one thing I never really talk about is how to deal with haters. And I feel like that's just kind of sending someone out into the forest with no tools at all. So today, I'm going to talk about a couple of my own haters after a friend on Facebook, Kara, asked me about a comment that she saw where someone was just so pissed off because they didn't agree with me and was just going nuts. And she said she couldn't believe that someone would get this angry at my channel because it's not really a controversial channel. And I said, yeah, I've had lots of haters in the past. I've had people make entire videos about how they hate me. And she was surprised by this, and we both thought about it, maybe it would be good to make a video about how did I deal with these things so that people that I am telling to make channels or asking to make channels or start their own channels just as sort of like inspiring them to, I should also give them the tools on how to deal with haters. And what have I experienced in the past myself with haters? Now today we're going to mention just a few haters. I'm not going to actually say the names of the people because I respect privacy, and also number two, because most of these videos that have been made are by channels so small that even if I talked bad about them, they would still get more subs. So better not to do that, right? Let the haters be lonely. I've written down just kind of a list. Most of these are not necessarily my biggest or craziest or constantly updating haters. It's the ones that have gone to the trouble of actually making a video or attacked me in some other way. The only one I'm going to mention is the last one because it's a very big channel that attacked me. And what they did, I think, is something that we need to fight together as a group on YouTube. And again, this is not like trying to start any drama or anything, hence I'm not mentioning any names or anything. This is literally just me talking about what I had and what I dealt with. So one of the biggest ones I had last year was at the beginning of the year. I had a video I made about Konami. I don't know if you're familiar. If you're a gamer, you most definitely are, but if you don't play games often, Konami has turned into a bit of a horrible company. It's turned into a terrible, sadistic company. They used to make great games, but now they've almost completely gotten out of all games in general and pushed all their money, I guess, into pachinko, which it's fine. That's not the problem. The problem is how they've treated past employees. Now, past employees such as the very famous Hideo Kojima, maker of Silent Hills and the Metal Gear Solid series, they not only fired him, they did multiple things to him. Before they fired him, they started to do things like move around his computer to different offices every day, turn off the power to his place where he was working, not give him a pass key to get into the area that he was supposed to be working, just doing all this stuff to kind of mess with him in a sadistic way because they weren't happy that he was taking so long to make the video game. He himself was looking for the video game to be a genuine piece, having as much as he could possibly put into it, and they had pretty much wanted to fire him, but in Japan, if they did fire him, then they would have to pay unemployment for a long time. So they pushed him to the point of quitting by himself. And then on top of that, they went so far as to, at the video game ceremony where people were awarded all different types of game awards, he got one for Metal Gear Solid, and they wouldn't let him go up for it because their lawyers could control that. Instead, they sent a representative from their own company of Konami. And everybody was so offended by this, they literally booed them on stage, and this is something that's never happened at that award ceremony. So, in general, the consensus is Konami is an awful company. They treat people awful. Their games have now become awful. Now they're just doing mobile games and pachinko, and they're holding on to the IPs of these games, not letting people make new versions of them, just so they can milk every last bit out of them. Jim Sterling's done a huge piece on them. I think almost every episode that he does, he's got fuck Konami news. He hates them so much. And in general, they have a bad name in the whole gaming atmosphere. They're people who want to boycott them. At this point, it would be kind of hard to boycott them because they don't make anything anybody wants to buy. I would suggest, though, if you can, boycott their pachinko. They've got Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hills pachinko. Just any place, if you're in Japan, you see that pachinko, don't play it. That's all I ask. Anyway, I did this video, and I talked about all those. Those are actual facts that aren't just my opinion. And that was based around, though, my opinion of why they were a bad company, why they were treating people bad, and why they were starting to fall apart financially and stuff like that. I got an email from someone who had been, I guess, a longtime viewer and liked everything up until that video. That video made the viewer furious that I would attack Konami. He was like, "You're an idiot, take down that video, that's just business." And it might just be business, but I'm not going to take down my video just because you disagree with my opinion. And he was just furious. He couldn't believe it. And also, because I had called it fuck Konami, he was like, "You shouldn't be cussing in your videos. If you want to learn about not cussing in your videos, you should talk to Victor. Give me a break. Give me a flake, man." And I was like, what? Who the hell is this guy? I've never seen him before. He did live in Japan. I think he still lives in Japan. And he was just like super angry. And I said, no, I'm not going to take it down. And second of all, Victor cusses all the time in his videos too. And you can go ahead and he said he was going to write Victor an email so that he would school me in how to be a J-vlogger. And I was like, go ahead, write him an email and let's see what Victor says. So I even talked to Victor on the phone after this, and I remember we had a conversation just laughing about this guy that, he's like, I cuss too. I cuss all the time. What the hell is this guy talking about? And so he wrote back to me. He was like, now I hate you and Victor. So he was like angry at both of us now. And he made a video about it, like, it was called something like J-Vloggers Exposed. Secretly, they hate their fans. And it was that because he had messaged me and I had said that I wasn't going to take down the video and that I cussed in my video, that I was a horrible person, and that Victor was also a horrible person because he didn't even listen to him when he gave him the advice that he should tell me how to make my channel and stuff. And we were both just like, wow, who is this guy? He's totally crazy. And I think that's a reoccurring theme you're going to start to notice with a lot of the extreme haters that go so far as to make videos. Most times it has to deal with someone being a little bit cuckoo, okay? And that was the deal with this one. He went on such a long rant. He went on to 3 videos. It was like a 3-part series of what bad people we were. Until finally Victor said, hey, if you really want to do the mudslinging thing, I can do that. I can start to make videos too and mudsling back. And I guess that was a little too much for the guy. And he took down the videos. He only had 1 left. I think you can still find it today. I'm not going to say the channel name. I'm not going to help him get views on that video. But if you do find it, tell him Unrested says hi. This next one's a great one. This next one is possibly one of the strangest one ever because it's one of these type of Illuminati confirmed conspiracy theory guys. And the oddest part about this next hater is that he lives in California. We know this just by him walking around and shooting different areas that he lives in and stuff like that. And we can see national monuments and World Heritage parts of it that show us that it's California, but he lies and says he's in Japan. That's kind of the strangest part. I don't think you need to live in Japan to be a J-vlogger. I think you just need to make your videos about Japan, which is fine. If he wants to call himself a J-vlogger, that's cool. I don't mind. I actually encourage people, hence I'm even making this video, because I encourage people to make videos about Japan and join the whole J-vlogger community. But this guy hates, again, it's Victor and me. I don't know what it is that they include us in a group. We do play off of each other's videos, so perhaps that is, I do commentary on his, he does do commentary on mine, but we do commentary on other people's too, so whatever. He hates both of us, and his video was about how we are creepy trolls in Japan, and that he was kind of extolling his own praises of himself by saying that he only likes to make positive videos and that he hates J-vloggers like us who make creepy troll-like videos, which, I mean, isn't that already negative if you're making the video about how you think someone's a troll and creepy? I mean, if you call them those names, aren't you being negative? So, but then he goes on to talk about how, like, my videos are only positive. They're super positive, all the time positive. I never talk about anything negative. Not like those 2 stupid, creepy trolls. And then he goes on to talk about things like he knows that Victor and I are living off of government welfare in Japan and just using the system, which I don't think I can get government welfare. I live in a pretty nice big house. I think they would be pretty pissed off if I tried to even apply for that. If I can, I don't even know how. I wouldn't even be able to read the paperwork to apply. My kanji reading is so bad. So it's so strange. I don't know where he gets this idea from. That, and we live off of YouTube earnings. I can let you look at my YouTube earnings if you want. I think over the last 3 months, I've earned a total of $80. So, I'm living the high life, bro. Every 3 months, I get that big old $80. I think a lot of people out there imagine we get like money bags delivered to our doors from YouTube, and that's not quite the case. I'm sure there are awesome, super big channels out there that can make a living from it, and grats to them. I honestly wish I could. I'm not gonna lie and say I'd never do that. Yeah, would I do that in a second? But the fact that you think that a tiny little 30K channel would make enough to live off of, considering I don't even have like a Patreon or anything like that, just doesn't make sense if you know how YouTube works, or if you just even look at a place like Social Blade where you can kind of estimate how much I'm earning. But he goes off and on about how we're just using the system here in Japan, abusing Japan, and we are trolls and creepers in Japan. I don't know how I'm trolling Japan. I'd like that explained. He doesn't really explain a lot. His videos are really vague. And the best part is his videos are about being teaching English, but he just thinks like him talking on the video is him teaching. He's like, this is another language lesson. I'm talking in English, and this is for people learning English. Well, I guess then that makes every single one of my videos an English teaching video. So what do we got next? Oh man, this next one's great. So this next one's actually connected to Tikio Sam. It's not about Tikio Sam. I like him. I don't have any problem with him. Well, I have some problems with him, but we're still friends. He had a friend of his, a friend of a friend, message me. This guy isn't actually Tikio Sam's friend either. He's just a friend of a friend. He messaged me, and he knew I had been doing artwork in Japan for a while, and he wanted a job doing artwork. And I was like, sure, man, you know, if I get ever an overflow of artwork, I'll send it your way. You know, just show me your portfolio first so I consider what, like, you're good for, because everybody's got their own natural style and everything. So he sent me some stuff. It was pretty decent. It was good. The guy's got talent. And I was like, all right, next time I have an overflow, I'll send some of the different commissions his way, because I want everybody to succeed. I want everybody to achieve the dream. I know I'm loving it when I'm drawing in Japan, and I want this guy, even I don't know him, to enjoy it too. I mean, you know, I would, of course, step away and say I'm letting someone else take it. I wouldn't put my own name behind it, but still give a guy a job. Come on. Always try to help people with a job, because there might be a day where you need one. And so I waited about 3 months. I didn't really get anything over the next 3 months. We were getting close to the Christmas season, and every time we get close to the Christmas season, commissions drop off quite a bit, because everybody's publishing what you drew for, every book that you drew for, or whatever you drew for. They're usually publishing it or putting it in stores and selling it. They're not worried about getting the book completed. It's usually long completed by then. So commissions drop off. I don't expect everybody to understand that, but I would hope that this guy who asked me for a job would understand I'm not just trying to deny him work. I'm just not getting any commissions right now, even for myself. I'm mostly making my money off of teaching English during that time. But this guy got, like, I guess he was, I don't know. So, okay, let me get into the next part of the story. So I start getting these really angry comments from somebody on my video, and I'm like, man, that's weird, dude. This guy's got the same name as that dude who asked for a job. But definitely they can't be the same person, right? They can't be the same person. So I go and I check the last name of the person who sent me that message to try and get a job in Japan drawing. And I find out it's the same guy who's messaging me on my channel. And just to check, I put a comment back that was like, yo, dude, you asked me for a job, and now you're on here like yelling at me on my channel about how I'm an idiot, my videos suck. And there was no response. Like, he couldn't believe it. He started deleting all the comments really fast, and I was just like, you can delete them, man, but it's too late now, dude. I think he didn't know that my channel and who I was, because he hadn't seen me by face, he had only messaged me SMS online, that I was the same person. The person making those videos was the same person he had messaged online for a job, but he didn't realize that until it was too late, and he had already, like, you know, dug his hole, and he was deep in it. So that was a funny one. I guess, yeah, actually, he didn't make a video about it, but I just thought it was a funny hater story. It's kind of, I didn't even try to get revenge or anything. It was just like, you got revenge on yourself. Okay, this one was actually one of my first Japanese haters. He's actually still around to this day. A lot of us deal with this same guy. I think I've seen him on everybody's channel. Again, I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to give him any publicity. But pretty much he just is Netyoku. And if you don't know what Netyoku is, it's the internet version of Uyoku, which is the right-wing nationalist racist group in Japan that hates Gaijin. And every time I would post a video, he would just post some random stats on, like, Gaijin who had been arrested for this, Gaijin who had been arrested for this, and he'd be like, why don't you make a video on it? You always make a video about things Gaijin do in Japan. How come you never talk about all the bad things they do and how they've been arrested before? And I mean, the amount is so very small and it happens so very rarely that a gaijin actually does do something. I'm not saying they don't. They do. They've gotten arrested for, I think, you know, all different types of murders and stuff like that. And I think there was one recently. It was an Australian guy, like, beat his kid to death. So, I mean, horrible things do happen. Gaijin do horrible things. We are sometimes very horrible people. I'm not trying to deny that. But that isn't really what my channel is about. Or if I did do a crime JFAQ, then I would try and include some gaijin stuff. But I mean, if the video topic is not about crime, why would I start talking about gaijin crimes mid-video? It doesn't really make any sense. So eventually I just asked this guy, I was like, well, why don't you make your channel about all the crimes Japanese people do in Japan? Because more Japanese people do crime in Japan than gaijin, and I don't see you posting about that. And then he just finally stopped messaging on my channel about that same thing. He would just constantly message, like, anytime he found something in the newspaper, he would message me with, why didn't you do a story on this? Why didn't you do this? I was just like, well, not really much of a story. All right, last but not least, this is the big one. This is the one that I really want to make sure everybody knows about. Last year I had List25, who you can find their channel easily by just typing List25 on YouTube. Did a video called something like Weird Things in Japan, or Japan's Weird, the weirdest, top 25 weird things in Japan. And pretty much what they had done is taking this old catalog that had all these goofy inventions in it that were made by a guy who's famous in Japan for just making goofy inventions, but not actually having them made, just getting the patent on them and showing people these goofy things. Like, for example, one of the things he made that's still very famous to this day is called, like, the ramen splatter bib, and it looks like a giant flower around your head, and you attach it to your face, and if you eat ramen, all the juices that fly up when you slurp noodles just hit that instead of staining your nice white salaryman suit shirt. And it's funny, it's cool, but it's not actually stuff that exists in Japan. And if that's all the video had been about, like a humor video about, look at this crazy book with all these crazy things in Japan, that'd be fine. There's nothing wrong with that. On top of it, it had things like, you can find this in a vending machine and this crazy thing in a vending machine, which they didn't understand that there's a difference between gacha machines, as in capsule machines, very different from an actual vending machine. There are a few that are kind of in between both. Like, for example, there's a rice machine and an egg machine. That's kind of like cold storage in a locker that you open after you put the quarters in. It could be argued if those are actually vending machines. Anyway, it covered crazy stuff like that, things that don't exist in Japan. One was like an umbrella with like a giant plastic tent-like sheet hanging down from it. Never seen it in Japan. I was just honest about stuff like that. I was like, I've never seen this. It doesn't exist. I've never seen it. The craziest one I remember that really kind of made me angry, actually, was a chin rest so you could take a nap on the subway home standing up. Like, if I showed that to a Japanese person, they'd be like, what the hell is this? It was literally like a giant cane, like this, you just, and so I was just like, no, this doesn't exist. No one uses this on the tram. I've never seen this damn thing. No Japanese person has seen this damn thing, and they live here their whole life. Another one was like a baby mop. And again, all these inventions were just from this one catalog, and I guess they had just taken this catalog and decided these are real. They hadn't done any research. And that was really what I was calling them out for. It was the fact that they hadn't done any research at all. They couldn't even do things like, there's Kewpie mayonnaise in Japan. They couldn't pronounce it right. They would call it like Kukwopi or something. They couldn't, and it exists in America too. You can buy it. It's usually imported to America, so I don't know how you wouldn't be able to just look at the label and pronounce it. It's pretty phonetically accurate, just reading it verbatim. So I called that out too, and what they did, they didn't say, hey, we want to get the money on this, so we're going to just take the money. That's fine. They could have done that because I used their video in the background. Like I am right now standing up in front. Instead of this being in the background, I used a green screen so I could show the pictures from the video and point to them and tell you which one was fake. I didn't say, this is my video. I made it. I get all the money for it. I didn't do that. But they tried to hit me with a copyright strike. They didn't just say, I want the money from it, which is fine. Actually, anytime people do that, anytime people say, hey, you used my video to talk about or do a commentary on, I want the money from it, that's fine. I really don't care. I don't care at all. You know what? I care about the views. I'm not going to lie and say I don't want views. Everybody makes their videos because they want views. No one wants people to just not watch. But I don't care about the money because it's usually so minimal, it doesn't matter. So if they had done that, I would have been like, yeah, fine, whatever. Take all the money. I don't care. But they hit it with a copyright strike, and they hit it because they were so angry. It had to be this reason, because anytime I tried to write back to them, and I tried to write everybody, no one would respond to me. I had to take drastic action, pretty much. I had to make a video in which I listed their business phone number, which is public information. You can get it from the website, List25 business website. Even to this day, you can still go there and find it. I found that. I put it on my channel. I also encouraged my viewers to go ahead and let that channel know what they had done, like let people know by commenting, say, hey, this channel hit, Unrested with a copyright strike because they were angry he criticized their video. And they kept deleting all those comments. People would call them and be like, hey, why'd you delete his video? I mean, why'd you hit him with a copyright strike and stuff? And at the same time, I contested it. And of course, right away, YouTube came back and said, yeah, this is abuse of the copyright. It literally said abuse of the copyright claim law. And I didn't even have to take it to the next level of going to court, which would be pretty rare anyway. You'd have to hire an international lawyer, which I'm sure they don't have the money for. Neither do I. But always remember that if you ever are hit with a copyright strike, immediately contend it. Like immediately fight back, okay? Because almost 100% of the time, especially if you're living in Japan, people actually aren't going to take it to court. Unless it's a company within Japan, maybe they actually would. Especially if you've taken stuff like girl bands or boy bands or Johnnies or J-pop stuff. They really protect that stuff. So you got to be careful. That's why you don't see a lot of that stuff in my videos, me showing clips and stuff of that, because they will hit you with copyright strikes so fast, and then they will pursue court if you take it to that level. That's why you never see me do stuff on that, but I know that. And this wasn't anything like that. This wasn't stuff put on TV or published in a DVD or anything. This was made on YouTube. It was under the fair use laws. Hence, I did exactly how you're supposed to do it. You show it, you change it around. I had it edited so that it would stop and start. It would take clips out, take sound out, and so that I could talk. If I just let it play normally, I wouldn't even be able to comment on anything. And my face was in front of it the whole time. Like I'm literally like standing in front of it. Their owner tried to tell me that he hit it with a copyright strike because he believed it was using their brand and their brand name, and that I was trying to use it saying it was my own, which that would be like me starting up the video and be like, hi, I'm List25, even though I've been unrested since the day I started my channel. I swear to God, I made this video and I am List25. The funniest thing about that whole thing is that the main guy who hit me with the copyright strike was the maker of the video, Juan Castillo. And I looked this guy up on YouTube just to see who he was, because he had his own channel, and you can still find it to this date. I'm not doxing anyone by releasing it. His channel name is literally his name, Juan Castillo. And his channel is about how he is a gay Christian, which is fine. I don't care what religion you are or what your preferences is, or, big supporter of the LBT. And bacon, lettuce, bacon, tomato sandwich, LGBT. I'm a big supporter. I mean, come on, years and years of art school, you end up having a lot of gay friends, bi friends, lesbian friends, transgender friends. Even still here in Japan, I have them. So that's not my issue. I don't care. Christian, don't care. You can be any religion you want, just don't proselytize to me. But his videos were about how he was punished because he was a gay man who was a Christian, and that what would these people do? What would Jesus do? He wouldn't do this to people. And I had the same question for him, so I commented on his channel. I said, would Jesus also copyright strike someone for criticizing their video? Kind of funny question. I know it's putting him in a modern sense, but would he attack people just for common constructive criticism, as in this stuff doesn't exist? And of course, he deleted the comment. He never answered. And he never would answer any of my emails that I sent him personally on Facebook, because he was easy to find on Facebook. So I also made sure to take a screen capture of the copyright strike and send it to every employee that worked there too on Facebook, because they all had Facebook profiles too. And so they could know what Juan did, hitting someone with a copyright strike just because they didn't say his video was perfect in every way. And if you actually go to the video and look and check out comments, there's a lot of Japanese people like, dude, this is bullshit. Why are you looking at our country as a form of entertainment and not an actual culture like we are? And I'd have to agree with them. I think they made a pretty good point, hence I made my own video on that. So guys, that is haters that I have dealt with in the past. As for advice dealing with these people, as far as comments are concerned, I would say, as a last resort, don't block them unless it's the absolute last thing you do, okay? I would say only block people if they're being like racist or just outright sexist or just, brutally disgusting in a way that offends some race or sex. Here's some steps. I just wrote them down to the different things I think about. Number one, I always just say usually like, cool story, bro. I mean, unless and please realize when I say these, when I'm talking about haters, I'm not talking about people who are criticizing the technicality of my video. If you yell at people who tell you stuff like that, you're just an idiot yourself. If people say like, dude, your camera's not in focus, your mic sounds like shit, they're not being an asshole. They're not, attacking you. They're literally telling you how you could improve your video for their entertainment and other viewers' entertainment. And if you're gonna shout back at, advice like that, then you're the asshole. You're the idiot in that situation. Don't do that. Just say thank you. Try to do the things that you think need improvement. For example, my last videos about 2 or 3 videos ago, the sound was awful. Okay, I didn't have manual focus turned on, and I didn't understand that because I had just started using SLR. I had to switch it from auto to manual, and if I got comments that said, hey dude, switch it to MF instead of AF, I said thank you, and I did it. Now I'm in manual focus. It's helping my channel. It's not trying to attack it. So please, don't go after those people. Haters are the people I'm talking about that just out of nowhere suddenly hate your channel. Out of nowhere, out of no sort of provocation or anything like that. They just fly off the handle because maybe one, you don't agree with their opinion. Number one, first way to handle it, if they try to say like, I know this and I know this, and you didn't even mention that in your video, and they've just copied and pasted a Wikipedia article, which anybody can do in the comments, not memorize in their head and recite it on video, just tell them cool story, bro. I mean, you just be like, ah, cool. And like, don't give it a lot of mind. I mean, you're not going to remember every single damn thing you read. And they just don't understand that because they've never made a video in their life. Usually if you check, they don't have any videos on their channel. They've never tried to record themselves, memorize something and talk on screen, or just talk off the top of their head. Saying something on video and just copying and pasting an article or just typing even is totally different. It's still a comment, but they're in 2 different forms. Number 2, ask them if they are really so upset about it. Don't watch, don't like. I have people complain about videos that are too long. They're like, you took too long to get to the point. It sucks. And it's like, dude, you saw the timestamp. Why did you watch it that long? If you don't like long videos, don't watch long videos. It's long before. Or people who complain about the content when there's a title. It's like, can you read a title? If you can read a title, you know what the content's going to be. Why are you upset? The next step is to ask them if they want to make a video response. This can sometimes really shut people down because they realize, oh, okay, I remember all this stuff. Why didn't you recite this on camera? And I was like, dude, you should make a video where you do it. And they realize after that, they maybe actually even do try to record it and realize, wow, this is actually really hard to talk off the top of my head, and make sure I look into the camera correctly, which I almost never do. I always forget. And, record sound properly and all this different stuff. And then they start to be like, okay, I should probably lay off. And last but not least, ask them if they want to argue a point on Hangouts, on Google Hangouts Live. I would offer any of my haters to do that. I think if they have a valid point, one that's just not, yelling in my face or calling me names just because they don't like me personally, which is fine, I don't care. If they really have a really strong point that they feel so much, hate towards me about that, this is the driving force, I believe this, and you're not saying it on your video, come on Google Hangouts, let's take it live, fuck it, we'll do it live. We'll argue it back and forth. I'd be happy to, but at the same time, usually most haters don't have a calm enough, you don't have a calm enough scenario with that user or hater to get into a Google Live Hangout. And most times they'll just stop responding, or they'll just completely ignore that you've asked to do that. Last but not least, use blocking. Block, delete, and grow bigger. That's what I can offer as far as probably the best advice to any of these situations. Block your haters, delete your haters, and let your channel get bigger and bigger. They can sit on the sidelines and watch as your channel grows and as they continue to marinate in their bitter attitude. Anyway, guys, that is Unrestology for today, and dealing with haters and some haters I've dealt with in the past. You guys have a good one.